All right, kicking off inequalities, we are going to start by solving inequalities with addition and subtraction. Okay, so very basic. Should be, a little bit of review because I think you guys have done this before. Okay, but just a little recap. Remember with inequalities, we have different signs, right? Those different signs give us different graphs, right? So today we're going to have to solve and then graph each inequality. Okay, so starting off with our two basic inequality signs, right? This is our less than, and this is our greater than. Okay, if we see these two signs, okay, we know that we are going to have to use a open circle for graphing. Okay, those two signs mean open circle. Okay, our other two signs are very similar, but they have that line underneath it. Okay, that line underneath it, right? This is still a less than, but it's also or equal to, right? And then this would be greater than or equal to. Okay, with these signs, we're also going to have to convert, word problems. Okay, so we also have a few other keywords for these. Okay, so less than or equal to, right, is this, greater than or equal to. But some other keywords that we might see when we have to translate, right, for less than and equal to is no more than or at most, right? And then for greater than or equal to, it's going to be no less than or at least, which may seem a little funky, right? Because, this is less than, but has more than and at most in it. So with those, I kind of think the opposite, like no more than, that's going to be that less than or equal to. Because if you think about it, if there's no more than, it has to be less than, right? Or equal to. Okay, same thing with the greater than or equal to with no less than or at least. Okay, so those are our keywords for that one. For less than and greater than, really that's all we're going to see. But you could see maybe something else, but I think those are the ones that we're going to see the most. All right, for these two, when we graph it, these are with our closed circle because we're including the value that we find because it's also equal to. These ones we don't include it because it's not equal to it. That's why it's that open circle. All right, so let's do some problems. Okay, some problems we're going to see today are just very basic. Okay, like something like this. If I have x minus 12 is greater than or equal to 8. All right, all we're going to do is solve, and it's the same steps as solving equations. So I would just add 12 to both sides. X, we keep our inequality sign the same, and then I get 20. So x is greater than or equal to 20 would be my answer, and then I would just go ahead and graph that. Okay, so on your number line, right, how I do it and how you can do it to maybe save some time is the number that you get goes in the middle. A number greater than goes to the right, a number less than goes to the left, and then we do our circle and arrow. Okay, so since it's greater than or equal to, I'm going to put a closed circle, and then I'm going to draw an arrow going to the right because it's greater than or equal to 20. Okay, you can draw your arrow like this. You could draw your arrow as long as it's like thicker and I can see that it's there on the line. It doesn't matter how you draw it. Okay, but those are the two things I'm looking for. All right, let's try another one. Let's say we have 18 is less than or equal to, let's do p plus 8. Right, again, solving, we would get p by itself, so we would just subtract 8 from both sides. To get 10, keep my sign the same, is less than or equal to p. Right, when we get something like this, though, we always want to write our variable first. Okay, so I would write p first, right? Since my inequality sign opens up to p, it has to open up to p when I rewrite it. So it's actually p is greater than or equal to 10. All right, flipping it around is just the proper way to write the variable first, but it also helps you with graphing. Okay, because p is greater than, right, instead of 10 is less than or equal to p, right, p is greater than or equal to 10, I think is a little bit easier to, think about. So again, we have that closed circle, and then it would be going up. Right, another little trick, this inequality sign makes an arrow, right? The arrow is pointing to the right, so your arrow points to the right, which is another fun little trick, is if you write that variable first. All right, let's do just one more. I don't think we need to do very many more. Okay, so with this one, let's say I have 3a plus 6 is less than 4a. Okay, this time, notice that we don't have numbers on both sides, but we have our variables on both sides. So all we would do here, right, since we need 3a and 4a to be on the same side, I would just subtract 3a from both sides. To get 6 is less than, this would just give me a. So then I would just have to write it as a is greater than 6. That would be my answer. And then on my number line, I would do 6, 7, and 5. Open circle this time because it's not including, and then again to the right. All right.